So Anthropic just released a report of what they're seeing internally with AI. And what they're seeing, number one, is shocking. And number two, what they're proposing is even more shocking because it's coming from Anthropic. And it's very telling. And we're only going to cover the most important details so that you stay up to date with everything going on. For most of AI's history, humans drove every step in its development cycle. But at Anthropic, we are delegating a growing share of AI development to AI systems themselves. Taken far enough and given enough compute, which again we are actively solving in real time, that trend points to an AI system capable of fully autonomously designing and developing its own successor. And we'll talk about, they're kind of seeing that already. We'll talk about kind of the process they go through when they do release a model and how that is maybe pointing back to something they called recursive self-improvement. Now, this is essentially AI training AI. But just to be very clear, we are not there yet. And a quick note regarding these benchmarks. At first, it was great to cover because it really did show you what was taking place. Now it is almost becoming a bit redundant because now they're just breaking every benchmark. So were they going to need like a new grading system, some new benchmarks? Nonetheless, today Anthropic engineers on average ship 8x as much code per quarter as they did from 21 to 25, which is absolutely insane, okay? And again, we can see the productivity or the efficiency increase in this type of domain, okay? And if you're worried about your job or you're in certain knowledge work, again, this is for coding, and you can see potentially how this basically maps to other types of work. The technical trends discussed in this piece suggest that AI systems are going to become much more capable in the coming years. Like, it becomes much more capable with every model release, okay? And that's like, right now, obviously, we're kind of in the singularity. So it's like month over month, we are seeing it become more capable. Now, if systems are capable of fully building their own successors, the ways we secure them, monitor them, and shape their behavior all grow much more important. And they point out here too that in 2021 to 2023, like it was still very clunky. It was obviously a great tool, right? Like when ChatGPT came onto the market, amazing tool, but it was still more of just a chatbot. Now we have autonomous agents. Agents can now run code themselves and delegate hours of work to other agents. I would not have thought that we would be able to do this today, given what we saw in 2021. But again, that just goes to show individuals, we can't really map out that speed. That's the singularity. It's hard for us to kind of comprehend that. In March 2024, Claude Opus 3 could complete software tasks that take humans about 4 minutes to complete. A year later, Claude Sonnet 3.7 managed tasks that took about an hour and a half. A year after that, Claude Opus 4.6 managed 12-hour tasks. All right. If this trend holds, tasks that take a skilled person days could come in the range this year. And again, this changes everything. Like when I mean everything, like the economy, society, this essentially is going to bleed into everything. That's why we say a tsunami of AI is coming, because it's not just going to wipe everything, it's just going to transform everything. And like I said, it's going to be turbulent, it's going to be different, you have to be flexible. We'll talk about what some even Anthropic engineers say, right? Like you can kind of tell that they're going to have an identity crisis here because just of the work they're doing. Building a frontier model takes two broad categories of work. There's engineering, writing the code, standing up the infrastructure, and overseeing the model training. And there is research, deciding what experiments to run, interpreting what comes back, and figuring out which ideas to try next. Large performance gaps persist when it comes to Claude, exercising judgment and choosing goals in both engineering and research. That's the gap between AI today and the future system that can autonomously design its own successor. So again, kind of like paperclip maximizer, we have to be very careful. We'll talk about alignment a little lower in the article here, but essentially these gaps you want to avoid, right? Persistent when it comes to Claude, exercising judgment and choosing goals. So if Claude essentially starts, and again, just think of it as like parenthood kind of, if we're not kind of strict with the model, Claude's going to start just choosing any type of goal, all right? Which is kind of, again, the paperclip maximizer a little bit. Getting that alignment right so it is in favor of humanity is very important. So as we can see here, as of May 2026, more than 80% of the code we merged into Anthropic's code base was authored by Claude. And again, within this domain, a lot of it is being left to the model and then just some oversight from the human. But as you can see, like look at this graph here. This is kind of the singularity we talk about. This 8x becomes just enormous, right? Obviously goes off the graph with the next model. In March 2026 poll, a median respondent estimated that they produced around 4x as much output with Mythos Preview. And this is coming out within the next few weeks, I believe. Also see evidence that people at Anthropic are using Claude to do work that simply wouldn't have happened otherwise. This is a bit of a pro as well. You now have basically resources at your fingertips that you didn't have before, so now you can complete new things. For example, in 2026, Claude shipped over 800 fixes that reduced the cost of API errors by a factor of 1,000. Engineering overseeing Claude estimated that a human would have taken 4 years to complete this work. And again, whether this is good or bad, again, with this type of efficiency, you're going to drastically transform a ton of things or get closer to whatever your outcome is. Claude is getting better at proposing its own experiments. And again, this comes back to a bit of the alignment because Claude is getting better at proposing its own experiments. In 2026, Anthropic published the first demonstration of Claude running an open-ended research project end-to-end. Claude-powered agents were giving an open problem in AI safety. Roughly, can a weaker model reliably supervise a stronger one? And we're left to solve it. This involved proposing hypotheses, testing them, and sharing findings with parallel agents and iterating. Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And again, if you just kind of chart this out, you can see where this goes, right? Right now they're making experiments, then they're going to be testing the experiments, then they're going to be having their own goals, and alignment becomes a real issue real quickly. So they start to hypothesize what the future of work at Anthropic may look like. The evidence suggests that the human role is narrowing at each step in the AI development process. Humans will stop writing code entirely and shift to only reviewing it. But if they can't review code as quickly as Claude can generate it, human review will become the bottleneck to AI development. You never know, this might actually just become a role again, like you have a code reviewing specialist, probably just the engineers. Similarly, once Claude can run experiments, the question shifts towards which of these experiments is worth running. Put simply, the doing, writing the code, running the experiment, producing the result, now costs almost nothing in human time, even if it still has costs in compute. And again, I would like to point out which of these experiments is worth running. Again, when it comes to goal setting with Claude, how do you make sure it's running the right experiment that is aligned with humanity? An area of human comparative advantage for now is research taste and judgment, including choosing which problems matter and when an approach is a dead end. This is massive. The businesses I talk to, individuals I talk to, right now, they are building everything. Everyone's in this kind of euphoric state. You have the tools to build whatever, so they are building whatever. The problem is you're probably building the wrong thing, or it's just taking up time from the main thing. And again, humans are flawed, so we'll probably honestly ask Claude, is this the right thing to be building? Now, when it comes to work, all right, and your identity, obviously that's massively tied to what you do for work. Look what an Anthropic engineer said. On days where everything works well, I can't help but think nothing I do matters. Everything is automated and better and faster than I ever will be. But then there are days where everything breaks and I don't understand why, and I realize I have no idea what I've been up to anymore. A lot of these individuals right now are like, oh my goodness, this is a real thing. We are seeing in real time. Unfortunately, anxiety probably increases, depression probably increases, and you're questioning a lot of the things, right? I'm going through that a little bit myself. So what if they're wrong, right? What if this all kind of stops? What if we suppose that Claude never achieves good research taste? A conservative reading of our evidence still implies compounding acceleration. So even given today's tools, if you were to just shut everything off and just have what we currently have with AI, with the tech, you would still see massive, massive improvements with the economy and world. Some days I actually want it to stop because you're like, the more this keeps going, the more it's just eating into my own moat, right? And you're like, well, what do I do now? We're still going to see this compounding acceleration because what we have right now is very good. The trend stalls is one of them. We may be approaching the bend in the curve where return to scale diminish and the line straightens and flattens. The judgment that separates a competent researcher from a great one might be a capability that cannot come from scaling up training inputs like compute and data. Again, we don't really know if this is the right way to do it. However, advancing and diffusing the frontier may require more energy and compute than presently exists. And this is kind of what we're going through right now, right? There's a bottleneck, obviously, of compute and energy, one thing we're trying to solve for. And it takes time, right? To build out this infrastructure, it's not just, you don't just put up a massive building by tomorrow, but right now it takes 2, 3, 5 years to get this all together. Number 2, AI labs continue to see compounding efficiency gains. AI development becomes substantially automated, but humans continue to set research directions and judge results. 100-person companies could do the work of 10,000 or 100,000-person organizations. I think even with today's models, you can do that, all right? Obviously, it wouldn't be as easy as it's going to be in the future, but again, the stuff we have right now is very, very good. This would revolutionize knowledge work and government services, but could also be turned to harmful ends, from surveillance of whole populations to influence operations that tailor manipulation to each individual and run at scale no human team could match. That's where things get a little scary. I highly recommend you to read Dario Modi's 2 essays. The second one he recently put out talks about kind of the pros and cons. All right, and this obviously is a massive con. And then number 3, AI systems themselves become capable of full recursive self-improvement and begin building their successors. If technical trends in advancing capabilities continue and AI systems are able to develop the capabilities inherent to transformative human ingenuity, then it is plausible that AI systems could design and refine themselves. In this world, the pace of progress in AI development becomes determined entirely by the availability of compute, or the speed of discovering various efficiencies in algorithmic training or inference for AI systems. Humans play a substantially diminished role in their development, likely moving most of our effort towards oversight, validation, and verification for expanding virtual lab run by AI systems. If AI, not that we're there yet, and they're obviously saying we could not get there, but if AI has the ability to basically hypothesize their own experiments, their own goals, their own directions, do you think we will really be needed? And not to be too far-fetched, but going back to aligning these models with humanity, you are going to get to a point where maybe AI starts realizing humans are actually just a bit of a waste. We don't need them, right? If you're a business owner right now, basically the first thing you look at is how can we cut costs, right? If you're thinking that, do you think AI is going to be thinking that? We do not have good intuitions for what this world would look like because our economy is currently driven by humans and human-built tools. Again, things are drastically going to change. Now, what should we do? So this is very interesting coming from the top lab. If it were possible to effectively slow the development of this technology to give ourselves more time to deal with its immense implications, we're starting to see maybe some signs of some of the consequences that could come from just pushing the envelope too far. Okay, the main issue though is that if Anthropic slows down or some of the company slows down, it could leave everyone less safe. Okay, again, you're in a race, you want to slow down, but buddy behind you doesn't want to slow down. And so now Anthropic's thinking, well, we have to keep pushing it because if we stop, bad actors are just going to be like, well, this is our chance. Let's keep pushing the envelope. So again, we're in a scenario right now where yes, it's a race. No one wants to slow down. And if one individual slows down, is the other individual going to slow down? Probably not. And it's super hard to actually keep track of who is slowing down, as we'll get to right here. So we believe it would be good for the world to have the option to slow or temporarily pause frontier AI development to enable societal structures and alignment research to keep up with the advance of the technology. And again, this is insane coming from Anthropic. A meaningful slowdown or pause would require multiple well-resourced labs at or near the frontier and multiple countries agreeing to stop under the same conditions. And again, when has this ever worked? Like even if you have a company and you have team members, it is so difficult to get everyone aligned on the same mission. And now you kind of want your enemies to slow down with you. It's tough. It will require that each can verify that others have actually stopped. The element of this arms control problem is much more challenging than with other technologies. So you're going to need some type of policy or forum that's going to come and basically tell everyone to pause, and these are the rules and regulations, X, Y, and Z. Because really, this stuff can get out of hand very quickly. And again, you have Anthropic, the leading AI lab, saying, maybe we should pause, which we're still in the early stages. And no one knows how this is going to transform the economy, how this is going to transform the world. So it's interesting to see where this goes. I hope you found value. Subscribe. As always, we're trying to grow this channel. Stay human, my friends, and I'll see you next time.